Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt is sponsored by the Marquardt Law Firm and does not attempt to solve your individual legal problems upon the basis of information contained herein. Instead, contact an attorney to discuss the specific facts and circumstances of your unique situation. The views and opinions of this program do not reflect the views of the Salem Media Group.
Be seated.
It's time for Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt. Todd Marquardt, attorney at law in Texas. If you're a millionaire or a thousandaire, Talk Law Radio is now on the air. Call in with your business law question, your elder law question, veteran aid, Medicaid, build a business to get paid. 210-308-8867. Or ask a question online at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com. And now it's Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt.
I'm Todd Marquardt on KLUP 930, KSLR 630 AM, and also on Sundays on 9:30 AM at 4:30 in the afternoon. Also in Houston this morning on KNTH 1070 and 103.3 FM. Welcome to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt, and today we're going to be talking about the estate planning deficiencies checklist. But first, let's check in with Joseph Warren for the financial focus. He's a financial planner for successful people and he and his father, Steve, and brother Jacob own and operate Financial Planning HQ. Joseph, tell us what's in store for today's financial focus.
Yeah, today's financial focus. Well, first of all, very happy to be here. Always excited to be here on the radio show. And today's financial focus is inspired by a speech that we gave together. We were speaking at your church. You were talking about estate planning. I was talking about the financial planning side of it. And afterwards, a gentleman came up to me and he told me, I found that the true value of having a plan is when things go wrong. So it's kind of ironic, but you can really see the true value of having a financial strategy when things don't go according to plan. You know, maybe when there's a market crash, you lose some income or lose a job, or there's a health event, or, you know, there's a cash flow crunch in your business. That's when you can really see, have we laid the right foundation for our finances?
Right. We all know that life on earth isn't going to be easy. Yeah. Jesus said, in this world you will have tribulation. That's John 16:33.
Yes. And
so for financial planning, how does having a plan help when things go wrong?
I think it really comes down to clarity. That's the one word I would want people to think about. Is the first thing we do to make sure that people are prepared for if things go wrong is we have a meeting that's all about financial safety. It's called the Comprehensive Safety Review. And during that meeting, we talk about everything that's worrying the client and any risks that they see that could hinder them from achieving their goals. But we don't just talk about it, right? I used to kind of frame it and think about it like this is a negative meeting. We're talking about market crashes, things that could go wrong. But after that meeting, we get together with our team of experts and we coordinate and come up with a strategy for what to do if that happens. And we even go beyond the things that they think about to see, are there any, you talk about, you know, hidden legal blind spots. Are there any financial blind spots that they didn't even think to worry about? And we come up with strategies for those as well. And that works because when things are stressful, I don't know if you've ever had a tough time financially. I used to write a blog post, and I wrote a blog post about mine when I was living in Los Angeles and I didn't have a lot of money. And I was scared to look at my account. I was scared because my amygdala, according to neuroscience, the fight or flight part of my brain, was putting me in this panic mode, and my emotions were basically clouding my judgment.
I love when you talk science. You're a former scientist, and so now you're a financial planner, and I think it helps with your analysis, doesn't it?
It does, using the scientific method and using experiments to see what actually will lead to a better outcome for these clients, what improves their chances of achieving their goals. So, but the amygdala will override the prefrontal cortex, which is the logical part of your brain. So we have that meeting when everything's going well, when everything's rosy, because we're using our logical brains and we're deciding this is objectively what to do if there is a market crash. And it's not like, invest some money. It's not vague advice. It's invest X dollars from your cash reserves in X account if there's a market crash of this percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And then it's just like we can become very logical even when things are going wrong and make sure that even if, the worst happens, you're still going to achieve your goals. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. So you're still answering the question how a plan can help when things go wrong.
Yes.
And what's another reason?
Another thing that we do, so it's not just about thinking of things that can go wrong, but it's also about preparing. So it's kind of funny. I remember when we started planning, the software will assume you're going to get, if you're very conservative, maybe 4% per year, depending on the asset mix, maybe 7%. If you're aggressive, maybe 11 to 12%. And it shows it as like a straight line up.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know that that's not how the market works.
Right.
It's unpredictable. Even this year, the market is doing pretty well, but it's been volatile. We've had war, right? We've had oil shocks,
Mm-hmm.
surprise inflation, right? Uncertainty is built into the market, but we plan for preparing for these things. So part of it is you'll know exactly how much cash reserves to have. We'll make sure that cash reserves is set up in the right account. And we're very specific to the dollar. This is the dollar amount that you need to have in cash reserves.
Mm-hmm.
And here's why. Maybe your insurance deductibles, it may be different risks that we see and different things that you would want to make sure that you're protected from.
Right. And so if somebody's listening right now and they want a team to hold them accountable, what should they do?
Definitely give me a call. The number is 210-444-2128. That's 210-444-2128. Our process, the first step is to really sit down and talk about what's important to you. We call those your values around money. So it's not going to be a boring meeting about the markets. We're not going to be talking about, China's doing this and, our analysis on your time horizon. I was listening to some financial advisors talk and I was like, I don't think this is meant for like clients to listen to because they were talking about such complicated things.
Right.
And our idea is not to say like, we understand the complications of finances. We work in it every day, but we want to make it extremely clear for you. This is what's important to you. These are what your specific goals are. This is where you are now. And this is exactly what you need to do to get to where you want to go.
And so what happens to a client's goals when something goes wrong?
Yes. So you may think like it's not just about surviving. It's not just about weathering a market crash or losing your job. We want our clients, in spite of whatever happens, to achieve their goals. So we pair that comprehensive safety review with something called a goal progress outlook meeting, where we have a whole meeting where we look at each goal that you have, if you're on track or off track to achieve it. And if you're not on track, we come up with a specific strategy, again, specific actions to take to make sure that you get back on track for your goals.
What if someone's thinking this is negative thinking? Why do I need to plan for things to go wrong?
Yep. I know it's kind of a, you live this, right? You work in estate planning, and that's
Mhm.
something that people don't want to think about sometimes.
Right.
I know we always tell our clients to get their estate planning done if they don't get it done.
Well, that's the most wrong things could go, right? If I die.
If you die is like, that's the worst case scenario, right? And, become disabled.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a healthcare event, like long-term care, things like that.
Right.
I remember when I met with you, just to give a testimony about your business, I didn't want to think about it. I was like, I'm going to live. I'm still on the cusp of when you're a kid and you think you're going to live forever.
Mhm.
Now, as I'm having kids, I'm understanding a little bit more, becoming wiser. But I didn't want to think about it. I thought I was too young to do it. But I remember when we sat down, we came up with our estate planning documents, healthcare directives, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Afterwards, I felt such a peace of mind. And I felt wise. I was like, I made a wise decision that if something happens to me, my family will be taken care of. And if something happens to my wife, we'll be okay.
Right.
And it was really such a great feeling that almost counteracted the wanting to avoid the issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Because now you don't have to think about it.
Yep. So once you do the work of having a plan for if things go wrong, then you don't have to think about it. If it
Mhm.
happens, it's not taking up space in your brain
Right.
where you're
Wondering.
thinking, what if the market crashes? And the market does run in waves. It has cycles. You went to the Berkshire Hathaway. He
Yeah.
talks about cycles of fear, 2008, and
Mhm.
greed, like the dot-com boom.
That's right.
You have those cycles where it goes up and down. And those are emotions again that really throw people off financially. We all know that, but it's hard to see it in yourself, easy to see in others.
And so, what's a good proverb for this week?
It's kind of weird. I was talking about Proverbs 11:14. There's a victory in a multitude of counselors. But I just thought about what Jesus said about the plank in your eye. It's really, you have a plank in your eye, your brother has a speck, and it's so easy to see the speck in your eye.
That's right.
So with us being objective, we can really see like you're operating, in a little bit of fear here. This is what we said we were going to do when we had a calm mind, and make sure that the plan gets done, and have that objective perspective to make sure people achieve their financial goals no matter what.
And if they want an objective outside opinion, what should they do?
Call me at 210-444-2128. No obligation meeting. It'll be valuable for you whether we work together or not. That's 210-444-2128.
Thank you. We'll be right back. Are you confident about your financial future? What if you had a clear financial roadmap and a team holding you accountable to make the best financial decisions no matter what? At Financial Planning HQ, Steve and his sons, Joseph and Jacob, have been helping San Antonio families since 1987 with inspiring, intelligent financial strategies. Whether it's achieving or maintaining financial independence, becoming more tax efficient, or building business wealth, we create a comprehensive, written lifetime financial strategy that's uniquely yours, based entirely on what's important to you. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Call Financial Planning HQ today at 210-685-2722. That's 210-685-2722. And take the first step towards financial clarity. That's Financial Planning HQ, inspiring financial strategies for San Antonio. Remember, 210-685-2722. Hi, I'm attorney Todd Marquardt. If you don't have a will, the state of Texas decides who gets your stuff, and it might not go where you think. I'll help you create a simple, legally sound will that protects your family and your wishes. Call 210-530-4278. That's 210-530-4278. Or visit marquardtlawfirm.com for your free consultation. Do it before you die.
9:30 a.m. Answer.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. Now it's time to discover your hidden legal issue blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. And today I'm going to be talking about estate planning deficiencies, and I have a checklist for you if you call the show or if you email me. So you can ask a question right now on Saturday, May 9th, 2026. Just call 210-308-8867, 210-308-8867, or email me at host@talklawradio.com. That's HOST@talklawradio.com. In the subject line, put deficiencies or checklist, and in the body of the email, just tell me where you're listening from. So the first deficiency is, you probably guessed it, not having a last will and testament. So when should somebody have a last will and testament? Well, the first clue is you're over the age of 18. Everybody over the age of 18 should have a last will, durable power of attorney, medical power of attorney, authorization to release health information, and maybe a directive to physicians. If you don't think you need a last will, call me right now, May 9th, 2026 at 210-308-8867, 210-308-8867, and challenge me on this. Tell me why you don't need a will. Okay. The second clue that you need a last will and testament is when you have children. The law allows you to nominate a guardian if you die, to be guardian for your children after you pass away, and you can name that person in your last will and testament. Why is this so important? So you can make sure that somebody with your values is going to be raising your kid instead of somebody that doesn't share your values. You wouldn't want somebody with a different religious belief raising your kids, would you? No, you want to be raised as closely as you would. At least that's the way I thought about it. When I started working for another estate planning attorney decades ago, I had to have this meeting myself. And my wife and I, we didn't have agreement on that question because we had never talked about it. Not until we got to the meeting with my boss, who said, "Who's going to be guardian of your children?" Also, you don't want your relatives fighting over custody of your kids. We want to prevent as many fights as we can, right? Because we want peace and family harmony. We want those family relationships to last so that we can count on each other when things go wrong. And you want everybody to know that it was your idea that that person be guardian. And when it's written down on paper, signed in front of witnesses and a notary, everybody knows that that was real. And it's legally enforceable as well. Another clue that you need a last will and testament is when you buy a house. If you pass away, somebody needs authority to transfer title to the beneficiaries, or someone needs authority to sell the house. Well, in a last will and testament, you nominate an executor to have that authority. The next question is, when should I update my estate plan? Well, I'm going to give you some dates, and you can write down these dates if you're taking notes, or if you're in the car, just remember to email me at host@talklawradio.com. That's HOST@talklawradio.com. In the subject, put checklist, and in the body, tell me where you're listening from, and I'll email you this checklist document for you to self-evaluate whether you need to update your last will, living trust, or tax-protected inheritance plan. So the first day I want you to remember is January 2nd, 2013. If your will was signed before that date, or if your trust was signed before that date, it probably doesn't include provisions that refer to the American Taxpayer Relief Act of 2012. In that law, Congress and the President made a portability election permanent. That's where the surviving spouse can use the deceased spouse's unused exclusion amount for estate tax purposes. And so if your will or trust was signed before that date, it needs to be updated because the law changed. So go into your safe or your closet or your desk drawer or your safe deposit box and just look at the will and see what day it was signed. If it was signed before January 2nd, 2013, call an estate planning attorney. The next day I want you to remember is January 1st, 2018. That's when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 became effective. And it increased the federal estate tax applicable exclusion amount. That's the amount that is excluded from being taxed at the federal level after you die. Before 2017, the threshold for paying federal estate taxes was much lower. And so if your estate plan was signed before that date, it may contain estate tax planning provisions that are no longer appropriate. And so your plan might be more complicated than it needs to be. We might be able to simplify things for you. So look at your will. Is it dated before January 1st, 2018? The next date I want you to remember is April 14th, 2003. In that year, the HIPAA regulations were passed. That's the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. And that law imposed new restrictions on accessing private medical information. So this relates more to your power of attorney, your healthcare directive, your medical power of attorney, whatever you want to call it. The people that you love might have a hard time accessing information about your health. If you fall asleep, are unconscious, are in a coma, or otherwise unable to give healthcare professionals permission to talk to your family members about how you're doing or what's going on with you, they're not allowed to tell. They're not allowed to say how you're doing. They're not allowed to say what the disease or chronic health condition you have is. And so this is a permission slip for doctors, hospitals, and healthcare providers so that they can talk to your family, whoever you choose. And so if you're not married, but you have that special someone in your life that you would definitely want to be able to visit you at the hospital, well, they need a permission slip for that. So call an attorney if your estate planning documents were signed before 2003. Another reason you may want to update your estate planning documents is if they were prepared before you had children or when your children were much younger. I have lots of these clients coming in. They say it's been 25 years since they signed their last will, living trust, or tax protected inheritance plans. Another reason that people tell me they're updating their plans is because their children are getting married or their children are getting divorced. Or if you've decided to add your grandchildren as beneficiaries to your estate plan, maybe it's because your grandchildren got married or your grandchild got divorced. Sometimes that plays a factor into how you want your children or grandchildren to receive their inheritance. Another question, another reason to update your estate planning documents. Have you changed your thinking about beneficiaries or about when, how, or how much they should receive? And that could be any number of reasons. If they're criminals, if they're addicted to drugs or alcohol, or if you've discovered that they're wasting their money and you don't want the money that you leave them to be wasted. Maybe you want them to receive their inheritance in a trust that's overseen by a trustee to make sure that the money lasts and that it accomplishes the goals and values that you've set out for them. Another reason to update your estate planning documents might be that you changed jobs, and so now you have different benefits through your work, like life insurance or IRAs or 401ks. It's a good idea to periodically, every few years, just ask your financial institutions, I'd like a summary of my beneficiaries. I want to see who's designated as beneficiary of my life insurance, my 401k, and my IRA, because you might misremember what you did years ago. I had a client come in one time after her husband passed away, and she brought me this letter from the retirement company, and it said that she needed letters testamentary. So she was asking me to write a letter. I'll get into that more in just a minute. But the reason that the company said she needed letters testamentary is because her husband had not designated any beneficiary on the retirement plan. And she asked me, why wasn't a beneficiary designated? And I said, I don't know. I wasn't there when he was setting up his retirement account. Maybe you should call the HR guy and ask him why he didn't insist on a beneficiary being designated. And letters testamentary isn't really a letter from the attorney. It's an official court order that establishes who the executor is. And so what that meant is that we were going to have to go to probate court to probate her husband's will, because if there's no beneficiary designated, then the beneficiary is the deceased person's estate, and only the executor can act on behalf of a deceased person's estate. Another reason to update your estate plan is maybe you want to add, change, or delete charitable beneficiaries. Well, we got to take a break. Been talking about estate planning deficiencies. I'm Todd Marquardt, and definitely call the show 210-308-8867. Ask your question 210-308-8867. I'll be right back.
Law Radio with Todd Marquardt is sponsored by the Marquardt Law Firm and does not attempt to solve your individual legal problems upon the basis of information contained herein. Instead, contact an attorney to discuss the specific facts and circumstances of your unique situation. The views and opinions of this program do not reflect the views of the Salem Media Group.
In the beginning, God had one law: don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then he gave Moses the 10 Commandments. And now we have municipal, state, and federal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws that might impact you without you knowing it. So listen to Talk Law Radio every Saturday morning, every Sunday afternoon, or on YouTube while you're walking the dog, washing the dishes, or working in the garage. This is the Sinners and the Saints segment. You know I like to talk about the sinners and the saints. And today, the sinner is somebody that's being investigated in Harris County. I'm talking to you, Houston, KNTH 1070 AM and 103.3 FM. Rayshana Deanna Dowdell has been charged with felony child abandonment after she allegedly left her two daughters, ages 11 and 6, unsupervised in their home for over a month while she traveled out of state. The older daughter was reportedly acting as the caregiver for the younger daughter, preparing for school and trying to find food, while texting her mother about being distressed and afraid and short on supplies. Deputies described the house as unkept, unsecured, with inadequate food. No other adult was present. A neighbor alerted authorities after speaking to the children at the park. Child Protective Services initially placed the children with a relative, and Dowdell later removed them following an alleged altercation. So parents, don't let this happen to you. Not only should you name a guardian if you happen to die, but you can also name a temporary guardian to act for you if you go on vacation. Don't leave the kids alone at home. I shouldn't have to say that, should I? The saint this week is going to be our moms. Mother's Day is tomorrow, right? Well, I know not every mom is a saint. Of course, we just talked about a mom that was a sinner. But I wanted to talk about my grandmothers who have already gone to heaven. My mother is also already in heaven. Ephesians 6, verses 2 and 3 says, "Honor your father and your mother, and it may go well with you, and you may live long in the land." Let's talk more about hidden legal issue blind spots, notably the blind spot of having a deficient estate plan, a deficient last will, or a deficient living trust. Are you certain that your current estate plan will minimize possible federal and state estate taxes at your death, including taxes on your house, life insurance, and IRAs? If you're not sure, call an estate planning attorney. Are you confident that your current estate plan is tax efficient? I once went to continuing legal education, and the attorney was talking about estate taxes, but he warned us. He said, don't do all this planning for estate taxes and allow the beneficiaries to be burned alive by income taxes. And so ask your estate planning attorney about income taxes for the beneficiaries after you pass away. If you already have a revocable living trust, are you sure that it's fully funded? A trust is like a bucket, and the trustee, especially the successor trustee, can only manage what's in the name of the trust. And so, do you have evidence, documents that you inserted into your estate planning binder that your assets, your bank accounts, your checking, your saving, your CDs, your money market is in the name of your trust? I like to insert those pages as evidence, not only for me in case I forget later, but also for my family, so that when they open up that binder, they have evidence that this is what the trust owns. And what's the primary advantage to having a revocable living trust? To avoid probate. And if you have an estate plan and a living trust, but it doesn't own all of your assets, there's a risk that something might have to go through the probate process in order for that asset to be transferred to your beneficiaries after you're gone. So this is important. If you haven't talked to your estate planning attorney in a number of years, or if your estate planning attorney won't call you back, find a new estate planning attorney. By the way, this segment is sponsored by Marquardt Law Firm. Attorneys at Marquardt Law Firm focus on business and estate law, including last wills, living trusts, and tax-protected inheritance plans. If you worry about will contests, sibling rivalry, strong personalities, or fighting over personal property, you might need to do something extra to avoid will contests and disputes during the administration of your estate or your trust. Have you done that? Call us if you have a question about will contests and disputes during administration. Today, May 9th, Saturday, at 210-308-8867, 210-308-8867, and I'll answer your question live on the air if I can. Another time that you might want to talk to your estate planning attorney about updating your estate plan or identifying if your estate plan is deficient. Do you worry about how your beneficiaries are going to spend the money that you worked so hard for? Does your estate plan protect your children's inheritance in the event that your surviving spouse chooses to remarry? So, if I die, what's my surviving spouse going to do with my money? Well, if she gets married to some other guy that's obviously not as cool or as handsome as I am, I'm definitely not going to want that dude to be spending my money. And so there's something that you can do about it. In fact, I had a whole show about marital trust one time. So look that up in the archives on talklawradio.com. That's talklawradio.com, or search for us on YouTube. Look for type in Talk Law Radio, look for the Lady Justice logo in the red, white, and blue colors, and click subscribe. Also click that little bell symbol so that you can get a notification on your phone when new episodes are posted there. Also, you can comment on the videos there. Just don't be a troll. I just got a comment from a troll. He said, "Why is this video in my stream? I don't want to hear about religion." Well, don't watch the video, dude. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Okay, we're talking about estate planning deficiencies. If you want the checklist, email me at host@talklawradio.com. In the subject line, put checklist. In the body of the email, tell me where you're listening from. I'll email you this checklist. You can self-evaluate whether you need to update your estate plan. Okay, does your current estate plan provide creditor and lawsuit protection for assets passed to your surviving spouse? Are you in a high liability profession? Is your profession at risk for frivolous lawsuits? Well, you might want to protect your spouse's inheritance from those lawsuits. Sometimes these lawsuits don't come about until after we're gone, because the problem leading to somebody's damages wasn't discovered until later on. There are things that you can do to avoid a replacement spouse spending your hard-earned money, or avoiding your surviving spouse from losing money. You just have to plan ahead. Call an estate planning attorney. Does your current estate plan provide creditor and lawsuit protection for assets passed to your children? This is the most powerful thing that you can do for your kids. You can leave them an inheritance under the mattress that can be stolen, that can be lost due to inflation, that can be lost due to car accidents. The most dangerous thing that all of us did today is probably get in a car and drive around the city. And having enough liability insurance isn't always enough. If, God forbid, you accidentally killed somebody, that person's life and the damages that could be owed from killing that person could be catastrophic, bankruptcy. And you can prevent that from happening to your kids by leaving them their inheritance in a trust. Now, nothing's foolproof. There's no guarantees in life, but we do the best we can to protect what we've worked so hard for. I'm Todd Marquardt. We're talking about estate planning deficiencies. We have to take a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Are you 100% confident that no matter what happens in the financial markets, economy, or world events, you will achieve your financial goals? If not, we have a process to get your financial house in perfect order and keep it that way forever. Your financial future shouldn't be a guessing game. Planning, advice, organization, and accountability are deliverables you should expect. For over 35 years, Financial Planning HQ has been San Antonio's trusted partner for comprehensive written lifetime financial strategies. Steve and his team, including sons Joseph and Jacob, don't believe in a one-size-fits-all approach. Instead, they create a personalized financial roadmap for you based on what's important to you. As an independent registered investment advisor, they're not tied to any big corporation's products. They work for you, creating inspiring, intelligent financial strategies that put your interests first. Call Financial Planning HQ at 210-685-2722. That's 210-685-2722. Hi, I'm attorney Todd Marquardt. If you don't have a will, the state of Texas decides who gets your stuff, and it might not go where you think. I'll help you create a simple, legally sound will that protects your family and your wishes. Call 210-530-4278. That's 210-530-4278. Or visit marquardtlawfirm.com for your free consultation. Do it before you die.
9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. Today we're talking about estate planning deficiencies. This is the last segment. It's our legacy segment.
And now it's time for the Talk Law Radio Legacy Spotlight. What's your legacy? Sponsored by Marquardt Law Firm.
Attorneys at Marquardt Law Firm focus on business and estate law, including last wills, living trusts, and tax-protected inheritance plans. It's all about legacy. What is a person's legacy? Is it your money? Is it your property? Is it the ranch, the farm, the vacation house? Well, I think legacy is more than just your money. How do you want to be remembered? What values do you want your children's children to know, practice, and continue? What charitable, religious, educational, or scientific organizations made a positive impact on you? Which college, fraternal, social service, medical, military, veteran, or other organization would you like to pay forward because of the values and causes they represent? How would you like to be remembered by your family, friends, and others with whom you have interacted throughout your life? What legacy would you like to leave for future generations? Are you interested in leaving a gift to a charitable organization so that your gift to your family will be without taxes? Are you interested in learning more about how you can maximize your legacy to your family by including a charitable gift in your estate plan? These are all ways of communicating values to your family. If you want help thinking about and communicating your values to your family, email me at host@talklawradio.com. That's HOST@talklawradio.com. In the subject line, type values. then let me know where you're listening from, and I'll send you my personal values questionnaire. It'll help you get started thinking about and communicating your values to your family. One of the values I have learned from members of my family are following. My grandparents taught me that the most important thing in life were to love God with your heart, mind, and soul, and to take care of your family. My mom taught us to love unconditionally. Now I'm still working on the unconditional part. My dad taught us to survive well by getting an education and continuing personal development throughout our lives. And after we've mastered our own survival, to take care of our family. After we've mastered caring for our family, to take care of our community by getting involved and volunteering. After we've mastered taking care of our community, take care of our state. He showed us by example by serving in the New Mexico House of Representatives for 12 years. And after taking care of our state, to take care of the United States. Now, my dad did run for Congress, but sadly he wasn't elected. Still, he provided the example. And if possible, do something to take care of everyone in the whole world if we can. That reminds me, did you know that people from all over the world listen to Talk Law Radio? The people that run this radio station are able to see where people are when they download the Talk Law Radio podcast. So I hope that you've enjoyed learning a little bit about the values in my family. If you want help thinking about and communicating your values to your family, email me at host@talklawradio.com. That's HOST@talklawradio.com. In the subject line, type values. Then in the body of the email, let me know where you're listening from, and I'll send you a questionnaire about personal values to help you discover and then communicate it to your family. Another hidden legal issue blind spot, a deficiency in your estate plan, could be that your plan doesn't allow for somebody you trust to make medical decisions for you. Or if it does, maybe it doesn't communicate to that person how you want to be taken care of. So here's a few questions to think about. If you worry about how you're going to be taken care of, if you become disabled or incapacitated because of Alzheimer's, dementia, heart attack, or stroke, you can put instructions in your estate plan. And I've done this for many clients. I call it the take care of clause. I like to put that in a living revocable trust because there's a whole section on disability and incapacity. But not every attorney does this. So that's why it's so important for you to find one that does. Does your current estate plan give instructions for your care in the event of your disability? If it does not, you can do that. You probably need the help of an attorney who does this, though. Does your current healthcare power of attorney permit the person of your choosing to make emergency healthcare decisions for you in the event that you're unable to do so? And does your estate plan contain a customized plan to determine if you're mentally disabled because of Alzheimer's, dementia, heart attack, or stroke? Some people that don't have capacity, that have cognitive problems making decisions, they don't know that they're making financial mistakes. They might be investing in the Jamaican lottery. They might be scammed by the new thing that's been going around where somebody sends you a text message of a picture of a fake citation. And they might be paying tens of thousands of dollars In San Antonio, Sheriff Salazar did a press conference on Facebook about this because there had been 2 people within a couple of weeks that were scammed out of over $20,000 each. Does your current estate plan give instructions for the care of your loved ones in the event of your disability? So if you're responsible for taking care of somebody who's unable to take care of themselves, something bad happens to you, how are other people going to know what to do to take care of that person? It's time that you got your affairs in order and started writing these things down, because you want to be taken care of in a very specific way. You don't want people guessing. You don't want them misremembering what you said one time at Thanksgiving. It's best to write it down. Having a written plan is better. Okay, so I've been talking about estate planning deficiencies, and I talked about the estate planning deficiencies checklist. I talked about the personal values checklist. If you want either one of those things, email me at host@talklawradio.com. That's HOST@talklawradio.com. In the email subject line, either put checklist or put values in the body of the email. Let me know where you're listening from. Before I go, I want to talk about a new municipal ordinance that was passed in San Antonio on May 7th. I learned about it by reading the San Antonio Current online, and it's an ordinance prohibiting source of income discrimination against veterans. Who would want to discriminate against veterans? I don't know. I don't think that's cool. On May 7th, the San Antonio City Council unanimously approved an ordinance authorizing source of income protections specifically for veterans. It prohibits most landlords, not all, from refusing to rent to qualified military veterans solely because they plan to use federal housing assistance, VASH, VASH, or housing choice vouchers as their source of income. Some of the key provisions are: it applies to housing providers, owners, developers who rent more than 4 units. So that's landlords with 5 or more rental units, regardless of location. Smaller landlords that only have 1 to 4 units are exempt. A landlord cannot deny a lease to a veteran if the sole reason is the veteran's use of a federal housing assistance program, defined to include VASH and housing choice vouchers, also known as Section 8. Veterans are defined as anyone who served in any branch of the U.S. military. If you're a veteran and you're facing discrimination, you can call 311 to complain, or you can contact the Neighborhood and Housing Services Department Fair Housing Division, or the Office of Compliance, Opportunity, and Access. The first violation, the penalty is a written warning. Second violation is mandatory compliance training within 30 days. The third violation is a $500 fine. Additional violations could be further $500 fines and a possible referral to the city attorney. So it's my understanding that this is effective immediately. So this is a hidden legal issue blind spot for landlords and for tenants. Know your rights. Thank you for joining me today on Talk Law Radio. I've been talking about estate planning deficiencies. The first deficiency is if you don't have a last will, living trust, or plan. Second deficiency is if it's been years or decades since you looked at it. All the rest of the deficiencies, you'll have to revisit this show by watching on podcasts everywhere, Facebook or YouTube. I'm Todd Marquardt. I'll talk to you later.
Most families don't realize they have hidden legal blind spots until it's too late. Wills, trusts, Medicaid planning, even protecting a business. These are the kinds of issues attorney Todd Marquardt helps uncover before they become problems. Todd is the host of Talk Law Radio, where each week he guides listeners through the legal challenges families, veterans, and business owners face, while showing them the practical steps to protect what matters most. Catch Talk Law Radio, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, 6:30 a.m. The Word, and now in Houston on AM 1070 and 103.3 FM The Answer, or anytime on YouTube. Planning isn't just about documents. It's about peace of mind, security for loved ones, and building a legacy that lasts. Don't wait for a crisis. Do it before you die.